Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome to the briefing room, which has been absent from the Zoom screens of Hildebrand for the past few months, but we're getting to the end of the Festival of Bond now, and we are coming up with the results for the very long-running poll that has been going on since really mid-spring. Before I do the introductions, I just wanted to say thank you to all the members of Hildebrand who over the last few weeks have been writing and posting such thoughtful threads in light of the very sad passing of Sir Sean Connery. I think our members have done us proud, and they reflected real affection for somebody who had a profound impact on the world, not just of Bond, but of film. So rest in peace, Sir Sean, and thank you to all our members for all their thoughtful words on that subject. And I'm sure the subject of Sean Connery will come up many times in the next 4 episodes of the briefing room, which will all be concentrating on the poll results as we build towards the number one that hopefully we'll be able to let you know just before Christmas. Okay, so introductions, although everyone in here is now an experienced part of the briefing room. First of all, let me just get my notes. Hailing originally from Tamworth, I believe, which is the home of the Reliant Robin,
yep.
Julian Cope,
yep.
and a roundabout called The Egg.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Okay. He's gone pan Midlands these days, all the way to Coleshill. It's Stuart Kershaw.
Hello, good evening.
We also have the smooth-tongued silver fox of the Lowlands, South London's answer to Nigel Havers, it's Ian Douglas.
Hello.
And we have the lady with more data than R2-D2 in the Office of Research Integrity. It's Miller time, it's Joe Miller. How are we doing, everyone?
Hi.
Okay, so we're counting down, starting off with In the Basement. The 27th most popular film. If No Time to Die had come out on time, it probably would have been the 28th most popular film, I would have thought. And Ian Douglas had suggested, as we are in the basement, some high-vis.
I didn't get mine out.
High-vis in the basement of Bond. I've also got a thermos of coffee to keep me going down here. And we're starting with Casino Royale 1954, there in the bottom place. And I believe, Joe, that's actually gone down 1 place from last year. Is that right?
Yeah, down 1 place. A score of 39.4 out of 100.
39.4 out of 100. Okay. Any surprises? Stuart, what did you think when you watched it? Are you surprised it's so low?
Well, it's never going to win, is it? It's one of those it's always going to be down the bottom. But for what it is, it's there, and I'm glad it is. You know, it's the first sort of glimpse we've got of anything like that. So it's just people should take it for what it is, not take it too seriously.
And Ian, you were part of the viewing party for it as well, weren't you? I think we all sort of sat down, and most of us were there.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen it every year as part of a poll for the last 4 years, I think. And although I think it's interesting and it's definitely one that should be considered part of the poll, I do find it quite hard going. It's only about 50 minutes long, but it does seem to drag a bit for me. Yeah. I don't particularly enjoy it. But it's a curiosity, and it's the start of the whole thing, really. So I kind of appreciate it what it is. I just don't particularly enjoy it.
But no surprises on your part that it's where it is.
Not at all. No. I mean, I was surprised last year that it didn't come bottom. So to come bottom it feels to me that's where it belongs. And I think I gave a score of about 40, so I'm pretty close to what the average was.
Yeah.
There's good things about it, but overall, it's just the start of it.
Yeah. Joe, any surprises on your part, or were we expecting this?
I think it's expected. I think it's difficult to compare it with actual films, with the budget of the films. So it's sort of, I don't know, apples and pears really. So yeah, no surprises to be at the bottom. But you know, it got some middling scores. I think there was some scores around the 50% or 50-point mark, which is not bad.
I mean, I actually really enjoyed the viewing party, because although I've watched it on kind of small screen YouTube, with the the wonderful way of being able to watch TV on a big screen or YouTube on a big screen, it was quite interesting watching it. Quite funny in parts. It was quite nice having the kind of flow of people joining in the thread and commenting on it. I thought that was quite enjoyable, really. But I agree with you, Ian. I think parts of it really don't hold up too well, and I'm not sure that if it hadn't been anything to do with Bond, that it wouldn't have been a footnote in history long before now. But it's kind of been researched. Now, looking at your information here, Joe, it's gone from second to last to second to last to last, then up to second to last, and now back to last. So its journey has been a smooth one, but a low one. So, Casino Royale, there, 1954, down there in 27th place, bringing us to number 26. And I'm sure that, Joe, you'll be able to put some incredible graphics or something rather than my pieces of paper over this. But in 26th, we have the second of the three Casino Royales, Casino Royale 1967. I'll start this time, I think, with Ian. Casino Royale 1967. Again, one I think I quite enjoyed watching when we had the viewing parties in a strange sort of way. Any surprises that it's down there?
I'm not surprised, no. I mean, it's always, bottom or second bottom. I mean, personally, I'm a little bit disappointed because I quite enjoy it, I must admit. It's a bit of an odd one. It's good fun, not always, the comedy doesn't always work, but it has a great cast, great soundtrack, some amazing, beautiful women and some great sets. And it's very much of the kind of 60s kind of spy romps, which I do enjoy. So, I mean, I know I tend to score it higher than probably 3 or 4 of the other films. So not surprised, but just a little bit disappointed.
Stuart?
I've actually only ever seen it once all the way through, and that was in like chunks, because I just find it so hard to get through. I really do. I seem to fall asleep whenever he gets up to Scotland and he's doing the clay shooting. That's it. That's it for me. But again, it looks great and the soundtrack's fantastic, but it's just a mess basically. And I think the behind-the-scenes story is far more interesting.
It's probably worth saying that it's only 0.1 of a mark that separates this and Casino Royale 54. So it's really close. And I think if we could have a joint equal bottom, I think we could probably put those two there. For me, it's an abomination of a film, but it has entertainment value nonetheless.
This is like some horrendous commentary on a bottom of the bill boxing bout, isn't it? Right there, these two slugging it out year after year to see who's going to be knocked out the first. Joe, Abomination, it's a mess, isn't it? And we've got, I can't remember who always says, one of our members, I don't know if it might be Tim or it might be Brad, always says, you need to rearrange it by putting this section here, this section.
Sequencing, yeah.
Yeah, the sequencing of it. But I kind of think you have to take the film for what it is without reordering it, and taking it like that, it really doesn't make a great deal of sense. But probably one of the greatest casts put together for any film, squandered so horrendously.
Yeah.
Strange.
I mean, in its defence, I would say on a wet Sunday afternoon in November, I'd rather watch that than 1 or 2 of the other Bond films. Just because it's purely entertaining, it's fun.
Casino Royale 54. That's the
okay. I'd actually rather watch it than Tomorrow Never Dies.
Well, yeah. Controversial.
Better film, but a bit dull, I think.
Okay, here we go. Number 25. The place where it's been for 4 out of 5 years. Die Another Day. I feel a bit sad about that being there.
I do.
I quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
more and more as I get older, I enjoy Die Another Day. Joe, Die Another Day, deservedly down there in the basement?
Not from my perspective. I can see why it's there. There's some great kind of missed opportunities in that film. There's some really good bits, but the bad bits I think just really drag it down. So we had a score of 57.9 points there.
That's about right, isn't it?
Yeah, as an average, yeah.
57.9. That's higher than it's been in recent years, isn't it? It's not, as in the score itself is that higher?
Yeah, it's gone up 5 marks since last year.
So do you think, Stuart, do you think there's any chance whatsoever that in the years to come, this is going to gain some sort of nostalgic place in people's heart? A bit like Moonraker, where we're going to look back and think, Die Another Day. The Bond film is just fun.
It's possible. It's possible, I suppose. I don't know, but I enjoy it. I think if we get people to just say, just vote on the first half, because that's the bit everybody seems to like.
Ignore the CGI. Anything with CGI.
I think there's just that one scene that completely destroys it for everybody, and we all know which one that is.
Yeah. I was thinking about the CGI, and it was that era, wasn't it? Because I was thinking along the line, there were some very successful films at that time that had CGI in them. Really successful. It was kind of the Titanic era, wasn't it, where CGI was used pretty well in a lot of films, and it was just off the back of the Star Wars prequels and all that. So it was definitely in fashion at that point. The thing that I think I struggle with it, a bit like Crystal Skull, is the CGI, rather than helping to kind of realise your imagination, takes you out of the film and kind of ruins it. And like the Jinx jump, it could have been a third of the height, more realistic, and actually get someone to jump. Easier, wouldn't it? Ian, your thoughts on Die Another Day?
Yeah, odd, because I find it entertaining, I must admit. And I think it's more than just a film of two halves. I think there's good parts in the second half as well. I quite like the scenery in Iceland.
Yeah.
The CGI itself just makes me laugh. And even at the time, it just looked bizarre. And now it just looks insane. And I remember seeing the making of, and they were showing how that CGI sequence was put together. And they're showing you on a monitor. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, can you not see how bad that is? It just didn't look realistic in any way at all. But they carry on talking about this sequence as if this is like cutting edge technology. It just makes me laugh.
They paid too much money for it, probably.
Sorry?
They paid too much money for the CGI and couldn't back away.
Well, I hope they didn't pay too much. But it does have, it's good. I love the PTS, the whole thing in Korea, the hovercrafts, Piers being tortured, escaping in his pajamas to a hotel, all that kind of thing. There's lots of good things in there. And the sword fight, there's some really good stuff, but it's just a bit all over the place. They threw too many things in there, too many nods to previous Bonds, etc. The Cuba scene I like, but then it's kind of spoilt with the whole Jinx and Bond awful flirting, and then that horrible sex scene, which is, I'm quite open-minded, but that's horrible. It's just an odd one, but I will still keep watching it. I gave it about 65, I think. So it's gone up in my estimation, but yeah, it's not great.
It's certainly not my least favourite of Brosnan's. And
no, not mine.
The bit you said about Casino Royale and Die Another Day is a good film to sit and watch when you don't really want to think about it too much. It's just good fun, and it's a great. Yeah. And some of the ones that are going to probably be a lot higher in the poll wouldn't necessarily be films you go to for that kind of experience. So I think it's certainly got its place, and
I think so.
100 million dollars worth at the box office can't be entirely wrong. So yeah, okay. So we move on from Die Another Day. Miles above, isn't it? This next one.
Oh yeah, it's almost in its own league.
There's a tremendously big gap between this and okay. Number 24. Never Say Never Again.
Never. Never say never again.
I mean, without labouring it, it's had an awful lot more kind of re-evaluation and respect in the last few weeks for obvious reasons. But I'm kind of glad that it got voted for when it did, and it wasn't affected by that. People know my views on this. I think this should be an awful lot higher. I think if it wasn't for a pretty ropey last 20 minutes or so, it's a standardly pretty strong Bond film for me. I think Sean's very good in it. I think it's got a great script. I think it's got some great set pieces and some great acting in it and some great actors in it. But it is forever going to be, for a lot of people, not a Bond film. That's probably the easiest way of putting it, or not official, or whatever people say. So I'm always a bit disappointed that it's so low, but I never expect it to be much higher. Stuart, views on Never Say Never Again being in the basement with the cobwebs and spiders?
Well, it's that people are just sort of, it's that unofficial thing and the music, and that seems to put a lot of people off. And it's a serviceable film. It's not a classic, but it's good. You know, I've enjoyed it a few times. It's okay. I saw it at the cinema, so I'd expect it to be a little bit higher, maybe up with some of the Roger Moore ones, maybe, you know, around about where, say, Octopussy or something is, but it's just the way it is, isn't it?
Ian, surprised with how low it is?
Not really. I mean, I do like it. I think it's, when I first saw it, I thought it misses some of the kind of Eon Bond tropes. Obviously, the gun barrel, you know, the James Bond theme, that sort of thing. But it's grown on me over the years, and there's a lot to like about it. I think it's got a good cast. I'm okay with the soundtrack. I just don't like the theme song very much. And the thing is, I do love Thunderball, so it doesn't compare that well to Thunderball, but it's still a good film. You know, I still watch it again and again, and I think Connery looked like he was enjoying himself, which he hadn't done for quite a while. So I think it's well worth watching, and it probably should get higher, but I don't think it ever will.
I mean, if he hadn't come back and made that film, people would have forever been asking the question, what if he'd come back and made one? And it certainly answers that. And the bit about the gun barrel and things, I do think that some of the kind of disorientating parts of the Daniel Craig films where they don't quite do it in the same way has made Never Say Never Again maybe seem a little less odd for not having some of those things. I think that's probably helped. Joe, what are your views? About right? Too low? How's it fared compared with previous years score-wise?
Well, it hasn't changed much in score since last year, hardly anything at all, but it's gone down in 2 places relative to the other films. I think it just really suffers from not being official. I think if you didn't change anything about the film but gave it an official stamp, it'd get another 10 or 15 marks, probably, just by being official. I think some people just never really rate it because it's outside the main franchise, whether it's through a sense of loyalty, perhaps, I don't know.
Don't know. I mean, quite a few people commented that they don't own it. Haven't got it, never seen it, don't own it. And you think that's quite an extreme view to take when you've probably got hundreds and hundreds of other films that aren't Bond films. And even if you think it's a Bond film, take it for what it is, which is a film with someone who happens to have the same name or something. I don't know, but it's a strange one. But people do feel like that, and maybe, you know, it can be reappraised in the future. Who knows? But that's Never Say Never Again at number 24. Joe, what was its mark out of 100?
61.6.
Okay, 61.6. Right, moving on. Come. Number 23. The Man with the Golden Gun. I don't get it. I don't get why this is always. Look, I've looked at the graph, and of all the films, Joe, Man with the Golden Gun for the last 3 years has been static. Number 23, year after year after year. I think the highest it's been is maybe 2 or 3 places higher ever. It always seems to be down there. And I was kind of trying to think through it, thinking maybe not the greatest theme song, I get that, and filmed in a bit of a weird way, but a great villain. Some great set pieces, a great henchman. I don't think I've ever not enjoyed watching it. It does flummox me how this film, for whatever reason, always comes so low. Stuart, why so low for Man with the Golden Gun?
I don't know. I think I think if you watch all the films in sequence, that one does come across as a bit tired. I think because very quickly they made it very quickly after Live and Let Die. I think we need to get one out quickly again, and I just think it seems a bit tired and rushed. Definitely rushed in parts, but there are great bits. I think Christopher Lee's fantastic. I think Nick Nack is a good little henchman, as they say. But it's there's just something missing, I think, with it. But I don't know why it's so low. I mean, it's not one of my favourites, but I'd expect it to be a bit higher. But
Joe, is it the way he plays Bond? Is it? It feels a bit weird at times, doesn't he? He's sort of not quite found his feet. But why so low, do you think?
I don't know. It feels kind of about right for me personally. It's kind of how I'd rate it. I think. I find the female characters a bit weak. I find more kind of portrayal odd because he's too serious. He's quite I don't know, aggressive in places. He hasn't quite got the charm. It doesn't seem at ease as he did in Live and Let Die. Bit of an odd one.
Ian, I suspect you're going to be a bit surprised that it's so low.
Well, I'm not, because I see this all the time in not just this group, but other Bond groups. It seems to be, I know that in the poll it always comes low for some reason, and it's always surprised me because it's about number 10 in my list. I love it. I think it's a really good, fun film. I think it has the best villain of all the Bond villains. I love the locations. The girls, well, I love Maud Adams. She's great. And I don't have a problem with Britt Ekland, which seems to be quite a rare thing. I think that's good fun. One for the kids, I think. And I think the soundtrack's not a classic, but it's got some nice touches, some nice John Barry touches. And I don't have a problem with the theme tune. So it's a kind of like a feel-good film for me. It's like a bit of a guilty pleasure in the world of Bond. I mark it in the mid-80s out of 100. I enjoy it.
It doesn't get mentioned much, does it, on the group? There are certain films that get mentioned an awful lot, but Man with the Golden Gun, of all the films, I mean, apart from the the unofficial ones, but apart from them, I think it's probably the one that you read about one of the least, considering it's quite there in the 70s. It just doesn't seem to get much coverage, exposure, debate. It's just sort of ignored.
Most of the comments seem to be about Britt Ekland and very disparaging. I thought she was okay. She played a bit of a kind of bimbo type role, but she was very likable. She looked great in a bikini. Never had a problem with her.
She looked great in a bikini.
That's fine for me.
We'll edit that. That's all.
Oh dear.
No,
I'm being cancelled.
That's staying in.
Fine, absolutely fine with that.
One or two people who probably will react to that. Joe, have you got the scores on the doors for the Man with the Gun?
Yeah, it's actually only 0.1 of a mark higher than Never Say Never Again, so it's 61.7. 61.7.
And as I say, it's more or less stayed the same over the last few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's gone up 1.1 mark since last
Lurking around towards the bottom of the ocean, never quite. Sad times really for the Man with the Golden Gun.
Disappointing.
Right. Next one. I'm very glad I didn't invite James Scott onto this one because I think he. But here we go. Number 22. Two Little Ducks. A View to a Kill. Number 22. Joe, can I start with you on this? Because I think you've got quite a lot of affection for this film, haven't you? Again,
I have.
It's sort of been bobbed up a bit from last year, but it's been on a kind of steady decline for a few years, hasn't it? Why so low?
People haven't got taste. I think that's me and James. We're on our own with this one, I think. But I mean, I love it. It's such good fun, and I'm sad that it's towards the bottom, but it doesn't surprise me every year that it is. It has gone up 6.5 marks since last year. So it's now at 66.7. And it's gone up actually 2 places in the ranking. So it's going to be the long comeback. So in a few years, it's going to be probably in the top half of the table.
I think it has got potential, isn't it, to be a kind of, thought of with a lot of nostalgic affection, that film. And I think it's getting there with that, isn't it?
I think so.
And it is nice that in all of this poll, there's always somebody, even if with the exception maybe of Casino Royale 67 and 54, but there's always somebody who loves every single one of the films. There's always someone who pops up and says, "That's my favourite," and that's one of the great things about
that's great.
Is there's a kind of majority view that will always mean that the poll results are, more or less the same each year, if I'm being honest. But within that, there are always people who feel very passionately about some of the less popular films, and that's a wonderful thing. Stuart, A View to a Kill.
I like it. It's one of them. Give me A View to a Kill over Man with a Golden Gun any day. Sorry, Ian. It's just entertaining. It's Roger's swan song, and I think a lot of what goes against it, I think people they point out Roger's age and the obvious stuntmen and stuff like that, but I find it quite entertaining. There's some good one-liners in it. I think Christopher Walken's brilliant. He's excellent in it. Even Grace Jones is good fun.
In fairness, Stuart, you've got quite a few of them. I mean, you've got at least 3 of the films down here have got great villains.
Yeah.
You got Christopher Lee, Klaus Marie Brandauer, whose name I can never quite say.
I actually think they might have been inspired by Klaus Maria for Zorin.
Yeah,
it's very similar.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's that kind of just the weird reactions to stuff, isn't it? It's kind of fantastic, and he is massively overplaying it. And actually, there's some lovely characters in that film, so it does feel a bit like it's kind of already looking back a bit. Isn't it? It's kind of like a swan song, really, but I think quite a charming one. Ian, too low, about right?
Too low for me, definitely, but not surprised because it always does badly. I like it. I think it should be a lot higher. I've always enjoyed it. I saw it at the cinema. I think it's got a good soundtrack, good theme tune. Zorin's great. Grace Jones's character, Mayday, is really good. And I particularly love Roger Moore with Patrick Macnee. The chemistry between those two characters is superb. Absolutely love it. I think that the 2 things that kind of let it down, people don't like the fact that Roger is of a certain age, and they say he should have gone before that, which I think is a shame. And the other one is Stacey as the Bond girl. She gets a lot of criticism, mostly for her screaming, I guess. And I mean, she looks great, but it's not a great character, is it? It's just a little bit one-dimensional.
Does she wear a bikini in it at all, Ian, or is that not?
I'd have to check because I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't think so.
Because it's quite cold out there in San Francisco, isn't it? So.
Yeah, apart from the City Hall fire, I think she's it's pretty cold.
Yeah, I mean, I think the points you make about why people don't like it, I think, are pretty much spot on, but actually neither of them greatly bother me. And there appears to be a theme running through our conversation here that there's plenty of people who dislike all these films, just no one on this Zoom podcast. It's true. There's a lot of enthusiasm for all of these films, and actually, I don't think Roger looks too old in it. He just looks a bit strange in it.
Looks a bit odd. The hair, the face, it looks a bit odd.
I don't know what's happened since Octopussy, but he looks very, very different. I don't know if it's weight or a bit of work or whatever, but he just, he does look a bit strange. But when you think about it, you think some of those set pieces, even, the Golden Gate Bridge and the Eiffel Tower, they are up there, aren't they, with some of the most memorable moments of any Bond film.
Yeah, some great locations.
Yeah.
I think there's the cartoony elements with it, though, isn't there? Like the granddad suddenly comes out with the dynamite. you know, and
Yeah.
at the end you just think, oh, you just ruined it.
Yeah, and I think
overall, I enjoy it.
we talked about it when we talked about the film originally. They're not really hiding the stunt work, are they?
Not too much, no.
No. You know, there are times when the stuntman, I think, is a clear 30 or 40 years younger than Roger and probably, you know, a good 6 inches taller. But it's fine. He's got a wig that looks
Very
great.
tall.
Okay.
It adds to the charm.
It does, yeah. It does. And that's what, it's one of those, I think, if you just go with it, it's a great fun. But if you sit there with a notepad picking over everything that's not right, you're going to be disappointed. But, you know.
Yeah.
There's not much I'd change about it. I gave it a 94.
94? Yeah. What was
Top 4 film.
Score average, Joe? What's it?
The score average is a 66.7.
I gave it 74.
66.7. So Never Say Never Again, Man with a Golden Gun, and A View to a Kill are all pretty tight, aren't they, down there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the next one we're getting to, which is our last for today, we're up, you know, climbing our way out of the basement into, the bottom floor, is a film that appears to be in significant decline in terms of position, but Joe, I think, is getting a little bit more popular in terms of its vote. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's almost got one more point, so 0.7. Yeah. But down to 2 places.
Again, I really love Quantum of Solace. I think I like it a bit more each year, actually, and I think it's got a lot of heart. The fact that it's quite high speed doesn't bother me. Don't really care about the Bourne aspect of it. That never has bothered me, on the shaky camera work. I think it's very different. I think it's just a bit mad, isn't it? The way it rattles along. It's very different to any other Bond film. And actually, I quite like the literal change of gear going up from Casino Royale into Quantum of Solace. And there's an awful lot of themes running through it in terms of his character, in terms of, his grief, etc. So I really love it. And I like this, of all the films, really, that I have come to really appreciate. That's one that I probably would like to climb in future years, but that's personal opinion. Joe, what do you think of Quantum of Solace now, looking back on it?
I think it suffers from following Casino Royale and having the expectations so high. I think when I first watched it, I was a little bit. It took me a few times to watch it before I really appreciated it, and ever since then, it's gone up in my perception since first viewing, and it's one of my favourites. I think it is nice that it's different. I think it does fit quite well after Casino Royale. It's probably not what people were expecting, so I think it gets marked down for that. But it's got 68.3 marks, so yeah.
Well, is that up from last time?
Only very slightly, yeah.
Okay. It's amazing that I think we could probably ask 20 people or 200,000 people. It always seems to come down to about the same tiny little margin that it changes each year. So I think some of these things are quite set, actually. Stuart, Quantum of Solace.
I think the same as Joe. It was sort of, I remember coming out of cinema a bit nonplussed, and I think it's sort of, I think everybody's expecting Casino Royale Part 2, which it is, but I think everybody's expecting the same kind of film as Casino Royale, and it's not. But it does advance the storyline on, and I think it's one of them that gets better every time you watch it. It really does. I always enjoy it now. Probably took me same as Joe, it probably took me about 3 or 4 viewings. Now I really, really like it.
Ian, would you think it's a misunderstood classic that's going to be reappraised over the years?
Yeah, hopefully. I gave it 83, and it's one that's gone up in my estimation over the years to the point where it's just behind Casino Royale. I've gone down slightly in my estimation. So I think it's a great sequel. It's a lot leaner, it's a lot quicker. It's obviously very different, but there's lots to enjoy about it. I think, I even like the theme tune, which everyone seems to hate with a passion. And I think the soundtrack's pretty good. My only real objection is some of the fast cut editing on the action sequences. That's just a personal preference. I don't really like that style too much. But otherwise, I think it's got an interesting story. It's got a villain that's quite believable, quite realistic. There's nothing odd about him, nothing deformed or crazy about him. He's just quite a.
I really like him.
What you'd expect a villain to be like, really. She's a great Bond girl, and she's an interesting character. She's feisty. I love the bit at the end where Bond goes to Russia to expose the ex-boyfriend of what's her face, Vesper. And I just think it's just a bit different. I think it will be revisited by a lot of people and improved, but
that end part, that's like a nod to 007 in New York, isn't it? It's quite a nice little.
Apparently so, yeah, that's right. I read that years ago, but that's right, and I think that's a really nice way to end the film.
Yeah,
it's just a bit different. I know there are problems with the writing, but yeah, I'm fine with it. I enjoy it.
I think The Quantum of Solace benefits from the films that come after it. I think at the time it perhaps didn't provide enough answers after Casino Royale, but actually the subsequent films kind of add to the story arc and make more sense of Casino Royale. Quantum of Solace. So you're not feeling left shortchanged, perhaps as you were on first viewing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I scored it higher than Casino Royale. Not much. I think I scored it higher for the simple fact, a bit like Ian, really. For whatever reason, I don't know whether it's just Casino Royale is quite a thing to sit through, and it's not something that I would probably regularly want to sit through. But Quantum of Solace rattles along at such a speed. It feels like quite a film that can be revisited quite easily. And yeah, I just think maybe as I get older, I kind of prefer more of the fun Bond films, if I'm honest. And I think Quantum of Solace is that. But also, it does have that. It's got a nice little edge. I think there's a couple of scenes where he kills somebody. It really, after the era of Brosnan, where mass machine gunnings and things like that, it really does nail death meaning something. I think it's fantastic, actually. Or some of the parts of that are fantastic, and I agree with what everyone has said, really. Okay, so that is our Basement Bond films. We will be reconvening, I think, next week with the films that will take us from number 20, and if my arithmetic is correct here, up to probably about number 13, something like that, and then take it from there. But we will have noticed that although there are 6 Bond actors that have managed to make The Basement, 2 of them haven't. So there's no George in The Basement and there's no Tim in The Basement, which is interesting. But all the others are represented down here in amongst the old bits of tarpaulin and the bags of coal and things. Thank you ever so much for joining me on the briefing room this evening. Thank you for your contributions, and hopefully we will get, when we show it, some lovely feedback from our members to say whether they agree with that countdown or whether they think it's absolutely scandalous. So thank you ever so much, and I will see you when this is shown and around. Okay? See you later, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.